Welcome to Sailing Liberty. I'm Ted.
And I'm Helen.
Helen and I met in Estonia.
Ted was basically this amazing cinematographer from America, and somehow he came to Estonia and he had done all those amazing movies like I'm the Legend and American Gangster and Die Hard 4, and he was in the Grammys filming, and he finally became director of New York Fashion Week.
And you want to see close-ups of details, so we go backstage and talk to the designers before every show, take notes on what they want to show.
I was like, how lucky am I?
Well, I met the most beautiful girl in the world. Helen is a model actress in Estonia. She's on the billboards, and every bus station has her picture there around the Christmas time, and you go to the mall and she's all over the place, posing with the beautiful jewelry and so on. And we hit it off. She asked me for help with her lighting order for her project she was doing at the time. Apparently the order had already been put in, but she kind of knew like how to break the ice.
So anyway, that's the past, and now we are sailing to the future.
Yeah, New York is no longer. The lockdowns have got Estonia shut down, and New York is a ghost town, and we're setting our sights on the distant shores and sailing for our liberty. We're going to find liberty
elsewhere. Yeah. We try something new. We
sally forth.
Yeah, we start from the past. We introduce you our sweet home, New York, and then our journey goes forward. We take you with us.
All of our subscribers,
yeah,
who we actually know all of you pretty much. I mean, David and everybody else are...
It's amazing. It's so much help and love.
Yeah.
And we couldn't have done it really without you.
No, and we still are counting on you right now, right this very minute.
So yeah.
You want to talk about sailing down through New York?
Yeah, why not?
All right, let's sail through New York. And before you know it, we're going to sail even further south to places that we all know very well.
And you know,
yeah.
As I was going over the Cork and Kerry mountains, I met with Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. I first produced my pistol and then produced my rapier. Stand and deliver, for you are a bold deceiver. I said, ooh, Rama, do Rama, da. Wait for the daddy-o, wait for the daddy-o, there's whiskey.
Hi, and welcome back to our channel, Sailing Liberty. I'm Ted, and I'm inviting you to come aboard. Today we're going to make it through the treacherous waters of Hell's Gate. We hope Hell's Gate took on a whole new meaning. If anything's going to happen, it's going to happen out there. The East River is not actually a river, it's just a tidal strait. It's like all the water from the Atlantic Ocean is trying to go through it at high tide, and all the water from Long Island Sound is going back out to the sea at low tide. And what you end up with is a boiling brew of hell. I'm laser focused. I gotta get this right. I don't want any trouble like I see other people have.
Blue charts, here we go. So we sailed out of Milford, Connecticut. That's north. I mean, that's Connecticut.
Well, we made it to our first port before dark. The wind was on the nose, and after a few tacks, I gave up and motored straight into the wind. Started sailing. It took me one tack to realize I was never going to get there on time if I sailed, so... Not only did I want to make Stratford before dark, as I've never been to the port, we had to make our daily goals. Because looking at the weather, it was 5 days until the weather turned extremely bitterly cold, which is normal weather for November. So we're lucky to have this weather window, and we're taking full advantage of it. Could not screw around with missing a daily goal. A daily goal would be the end of the project. Came into Stratford, the marina offices were closed. So I just tied up to a good looking dock. No problem.
Once again, you got to get up early. We got to make it to Hell's Gate on time. I'm going to have to miss these guys at the marina. I never did see anybody around here. That's fine with me. I will catch them on the flip side on the way back. Hell's Gate and beyond. Here we go.
Worked out pretty good though. I was gone before they were open. That's all I can say for sure. We'll catch them on the flip side, you know. If there ever is one, if we ever go back.
You're a rebel with the cause.
Yeah. Rebel without a cost.
I said rebel with the cause.
Yeah, I heard you, but I realized it would be funnier if you said rebel without a cost.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah. It takes me a while.
Yeah.
My first deadline for safe passage had me at Throg's Neck around an hour and 45 minutes after high tide at the Battery. Now, when you're doing your research and you're studying all this stuff, it really seems complicated. You got to look at it 100 times before you understand it. But the problem is, you got to be going out with the tide, or you got to be on a slack tide when you get to Hell's Gate. Simple as that. But the tricky part is, how long does it take you to get to the landmarks that they tell you in the guides? Well, you got to go and look at, like, how long does it take me to get from Stratford to Throg's Neck? So I did that. Basically, I had to get up before dawn and make sure I was at Throg's Neck on time. That put me an hour and 45 minutes after high tide at the Battery. High tide at the Battery is at 8:08 a.m. My goal is 9:53 at Throg's Neck. Call it 10 o'clock. I was there around 10:10.
But you are there alone. I mean, you're alone.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're just alone. Everything you do, you have to depend on yourself.
Yeah.
And it's daunting. Might, you know, scare people off.
Oh. Some people never even single-hand in a powerboat, let alone a sailboat. Like the guy that taught me to sail, he never single-handed.
Because it's only you. If you get injured or whatever, you can't get to the shore. You're stuck.
No, you figure it out. You know, I had to come, at one point, I had to just decide that I was okay with being lost at sea, more or less. And I wasn't going to, like, regret it or whatever, you know what I mean? It was just accepted that that could be my fate, you know.
What about eaten by shark?
Yes, including eaten by shark.
So it gets pretty confusing down here. There's a lot of headlands sticking out. You got to really keep your eye on the chart. And right about here, I started to turn in. I thought this Belden Point was Throg's Neck Point. From the water, they look pretty much the same. So it was a little early, caught myself, and headed on down. Started getting really choppy through here. Here's about where I ran into that Coast Guard cutter. Conditions were really rough the closer I got to the neck. So it was good to see the Coast Guard cutter, but it reminded me of the real danger. Those guys aren't out there for no reason. Interesting fact, when they put up this bridge, they had to move 421 houses. I mean, this is a populated area. So getting up a project this big was no easy task. And they kind of didn't get it right. There's major structural issues to the point where they couldn't even let heavy trucks on the bridge during the day. The seaway finally settled down enough so I could empty a bucket. I had a lot of coffee. What are you gonna do? Fenders washed overboard at Throg's Neck as well. You're never going to drive with fenders hanging. I have to keep everything ship-shape shape.
Ship-shape shape.
That's how Tony Curtis says it in Some Like It Hot. That's Helen's favorite movie. Ship-shape shape, she always says, but it's really ship-shape. Anyway, nothing to worry about. The Coast Guard is nearby. I went through each bridge and checked it, and I actually got the heights that we're going to put in the graphic.
I mean, they're magnificent.
Well, they are, until you start to read about them, and some are magnificent and some are shady. But I'll go one by one.
I think I have been only on Brooklyn Bridge, and we drove over to from Throg's Neck.
No, we never did. No, we would never go
when
there.
We went to our friend's grill party, we drove over some bridge.
Oh no, but that's Tappan Zee Bridge. That's on the Hudson. That's over here.
Oh, okay.
Which that bridge was super shady too. Tappan Zee Bridge was so bad that they realized it was basically going to collapse at some point, and
year ago, they finally had the new bridge finished after 20 years. Right away, it's the White Stone Bridge. 23 months, less than 2 years to build this bridge. Good looking bridge, but unfortunately, the design is flawed. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge, Galloping Gertie, is a sister bridge. They have based on the same design. And that bridge collapsed, which I'm sure you guys have all seen that video footage. Well, I guess it was filmed. So once the Tacoma Narrows Bridge collapsed in 1940, they really got on the stick and figured out some quick fixes for this bridge. People familiar with the terrible design and the wind there, we just took it down quick. So once that happened, they got right on it and they added a lot of structure to this bridge, and they took structure away and they changed the structure, and eventually they put on some fairings and improved the aerodynamics, and now they say it's safe and nothing to worry about. Wow, Rikers Island, bad vibes here. These waters are slacked, full of litter, filthy, no visibility, completely muddy, dirty. I did not go ashore at Rikers Island. This is some kind of anomaly. One of America's 10 worst prisons. Way to go, made the top 10. I mean, they have violence with the inmates, obviously. They have staff violence, rape, abuse of teenagers, the mentally ill. It's got one of the highest rates of solitary confinement in the country. It's like 10 separate jails. They've been trying to fix it, clean it up, lawsuits, you name it, all that stuff. Nothing seems to make a difference.
Oh, look at that. That's Rikers Island. I looked in Netflix this documentary about Caleb Brother. I think that was his name. It's like wicked story. He killed himself in the end, you know. He got out and he was so destroyed. He was in solitary confinement, and he's like.
And he was a juvenile, right?
Yeah, and actually he wasn't guilty.
The waters are known to be like the boiling brews of hell, and because I don't want to mess this up, and it's one of my first, well actually it is my first big passage single-handing, so I'm going to stay focused, I'm going to get it right, and let's go do it. Historically, thousands of ships have sunk in Hell's Gate, and I don't want to be one of them. You know, there's this famous HMS Hawser. It's this British ship that had a bunch of Patriot slaves on board, and Patriots that were captured as prisoners of war. They're saying between $800 million and $1.5 billion in treasure lay in the waters we're about to go through. And then I went on down towards the Brother Islands, and I turned up into the breeze and took a little well-deserved break. Had to fill a bucket. And the current was really taking me, so I drifted. And by the time I fired up the engines to get going again, I was basically about to run aground.
But you were like in 3 feet water, almost.
I would have ran aground right there. I knew I was close to the island, but I didn't know I was that close to running aground. And I cut back down between South Brother and North Brother and went right over the wreck of the Hussar and that $1 billion fortune right there. A lot of money. A lot of people have been trying to find it, but they haven't found it yet. You know, to me, the real treasure was the lives lost there. You can swing back through on your own and take a dive and see what you can see. Now, the British still continue to deny that there was treasure on the board, but, you know, I got a feeling it's going to be right under our keel. Wow, this is Hell's Gate. I think I'm on time and I'm not going to have to fight the current, but the water is still boiling with these crazy eddies. All the people that were lost here, witchy boils, toxic waters. It's haunting, man. This is not cool. I keep thinking, what's below? I can only see like a ½ inch into the water. It's so murky. How is it possible? the water this deep could have swells coming up in these swirling eddies. Feels like you're about to hit something. As if like I'm about to go over a boulder or bump into a log or something. Everywhere you look in the water. I can't imagine 50-some feet of water underneath my keel, but man. Wow. TNT! That's guys are shooting dynamite. They sent Hell's Gate back to hell. Dynamite! Explosions! Kaboom! Boom! Blast! Kabam! Man. I guess I gotta just trust 70 years of clearing hazards to shipping. I must be in the clear, but I can't understand how there's so much swirly water here at 50 feet. Let me know if you have any ideas about that could possibly be.
I decided I would look up the bridges so that I could tell you a little bit about each one as we go. Because it basically turned into the tour of...
Interest.
Once you have your schedule figured out, you're not going to die. It's basically a tour of New York City with bridges to mark the way. So
I mean, in Paris I went on the tour and I didn't do any research, and it was beautiful, but they had houses with no meaning. We didn't know what's what, and they had a bad hangover.
Alright, well, we'll discuss that in another upcoming episode.
You're heading south through Hell's Gate. Your passage is good, if things are good, by the time you get to Hell's Gate Bridge. At this point you made it. Right about now I stopped obsessing about the hair-raising East River and marveled at the arch. Check out the bridge. You're there, you made it. Beautiful arch. It's a railroad bridge. And they don't make them like this anymore. They say if they didn't do any maintenance on this bridge, starting tomorrow, it would last 1,000 years before it had any structural problems. And that's a pretty good thing, because historically they've let this bridge go for up to 20 years at a time while they fought over whose responsibility it was to keep it up, whether it was the government or the railroad or the other railroad or whatever. In fact, it was so perfect that when the two sides of the arch came together, they were within 5/16 of an inch of what was expected. So they put in a couple of jacks, slapped a couple of gusset plates on the sides, and there it sits. Good to go for 1,000 years of neglect, if need be. All right, full speed ahead. Your tour of New York City bridges continues. I'm going with the current now. I'm going out with the ebbing tide. Ladies and gentlemen, draw your attention to the Borough Bridge, also known as the RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Bridge, the traffic machine. It's the Borough Bridge. It connects 3 boroughs, and it's a bridge. So here's Hell's Gate right here. Right there. Fixed bridge. Let me tell you what it's called. And then onto the RFK Bridge. You can see how wide it is. It's a highway bridge. We made it past Hell's Gate. Okay, very important. I only found this out a couple days before I headed down the river. You got to stay on the Manhattan side of Roosevelt Island. Now we have to pick these as your route.
And then I looked at the chart, and there's this lift bridge, right? And it's the Roosevelt Island Bridge, the lift bridge. But they pretty much never lift it.
It was not smooth sailing for a boat after it got stuck under the Roosevelt Island Bridge this afternoon. Video from Chopper 2 shows the boat in distress this afternoon. Fire officials say the mast got lodged in those girders. The bridge had to be opened to free it, and an FDNY Marine crew towed that boat to City Island. There was actually only one passenger on board, and thankfully that passenger was not hurt.
They probably thought they just made it.
Probably just could make it.
Inches away, they missed it. That's a
You
tough
have to
one.
go on the west side, not the east side, the New York City, Manhattan side of Roosevelt Island. Because there is a low bridge here. Lots of power boats and some sailboats could fit under it, but not me. That is too close for comfort. I wouldn't even try it. This is much better over here. This is no bueno. Besides, why would you want to go on that side? Stay on the city side. It's a crazy view. Look at this. That's it. You're right. The Queensborough Bridge. It's in the opening credits, a taxi. The cab's coming across the bridge. You see the view from the bridge of Manhattan. Supposedly Tony Danza was driving it. I never could tell who it was. Queensborough Bridge here. Right there she is. It's a heck of an opening sequence though. It's worth it though, because the show, if you're not familiar with the TV show Taxi, it's a binge watch. The characters are awesome. It's a great show. Look at the towers on this one. The guy that designed this bridge, he worked with Eiffel. Yeah, the guy that designed the Eiffel Tower, Alexander Gustav Eiffel. And, you know, probably took some inspiration from his time together with the great designer and put it into his big project. He got to build 4 towers. They're all the same, but kind of great looking little towers on this bridge. I still like the Queensborough Bridge better, but it's a great looking bridge. Oh, by the way, it goes over to Williamsburg. Cute neighborhood. All right, here we go. Easy motoring, going with the tide down the river. 2 more bridges, then we get to the Battery. But they're good ones. We got the Manhattan Bridge. It's a 30-minute walk across that bridge. Not that anybody would take the time to do that. But the Brooklyn Bridge, woo! This one is iconic. If you're in New York and you have the time, go take a walk. And if you like it, I could probably arrange for a sale. Yeah, I got a bridge to sell you. That was a real thing. This guy, Parker, was a con man. He sold the bridge a number of times before they got wise to it. It became an axiom across the country. I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. Just saying. But if there's a bridge, if you're going to take the time and buy one, this is the bridge, because this took generations to build, and it was way ahead of its time, and there's never been a bridge built like it. This John Roebling, genius. He designed this bridge and the way it was built. So he designed the cable machines, the cable design, and the caissons and the towers. Okay, let's back up. The suspension bridge thing, brand new. This guy came up with the machines that would actually weave the wires back and forth across to build these giant cables. And he came up with the design and the machines and the process, figured it all out, designed everything down to the last degree. He also figured out how to build these towers. They're literally building the towers while they're simultaneously digging out from underneath them to get to solid rock. And inside the towers, guys are working under pressure to dig out the mud and load and have it taken up through airlocks to get it out from underneath the caissons, which are the actual places at the bottom of these giant stone towers. And they're working under pressure there, so it was very dangerous, and people got the bends. They didn't understand anything about, you know, nitrogen in the blood and pressure and all that stuff that we now understand because of diving. John Roebling never got to see the bridge finished.
By the way, I filmed their music video, Love Drew Just For You, with John Tracy.
Just for you.
Hey, this is it. We're at the Battery. You've read about it, you dreamed about it, you saw it in all the tide charts and wondered, what the heck is this Battery that I'm so concerned about? Sailing the East River and surviving Hell's Gate. The Battery. What do they call it, the Battery? Well, it's the historic placement of the gun batteries to guard New York Harbor from invaders. Welcome to Sailing Liberty. Depending on who they might have been that year, the gun batteries of New York Harbor were placed here. No more gun batteries here. We do have Battery Park, which is a little park down here. And, the water's getting a little choppy through here.
It's like a giant tub of water that you're somewhat shaking up. You got the East River, obviously. You got the Hudson River, the Atlantic Ocean, New York Harbor, right? And it is water. It's just slopping, sloshy, and it's just like, whoa. So it's like you can't tell what direction anything's coming from. So it's going right through that. But this is where it gets interesting. To get to basically where you're going to turn north and go up the Hudson, and I can't make any headway. I feel like I'm standing still, you know, so I got about right here.
So you didn't move at all?
Well, I was trying so hard, I thought, well, am I moving at all? And so I looked at the buildings, tried to line up, and I was like, wait, am I going backwards? Or am I definitely not moving? So I stopped fighting it, stopped trying to go north, and
so
just
you crossed the river?
Just crossed the river, yeah. And I kept testing, and I tried a little here and there to go north, and it just wasn't worth it. I wasn't making any speed over the ground. So I got all the way across, and then once I finally got here to the edge, the velocity of the water in the shallower areas was manageable, and I was able to turn north, but still it was a slog. I was just creeping up, chugging along very slowly.
How long did it take?
It took hours. I was just struggling, crossing over the Lincoln Tunnel area, just struggling to get up to Weehawken Cove and check out the Weehawken Cove, and just staying as close to the edge.
How long did it should like normally take when you?
Well, normally I probably would take like 20 minutes or something.
Wow.
You know, it's just a little neighborhood drive, you know.
It's crazy.
But that was a major miscalculation.
It was ebb tide in Hudson?
Yeah, the Hudson's also on an ebb tide, which I had never planned for. I just figured I got to get through Hell's Gate to get through East River. The Hudson's on an ebb tide. There's no way I can go against the Hudson River, giant river, on an ebb tide. Tide is going out, full blast at this point.
And I went in and took a look around Weehawken Cove, which is the place I always intended of setting up a permanent mooring. Drove on through there. That was something I'd planned on doing for years. Did a couple turns. And then I came into the Lincoln Harbor Marina. I came in, I ran aground, I got off ground, I ran aground backing up, I went over here, I tried to come up around here, I ran aground again, drifted around, tried to find a place to get in, talked to some guys on the dock, and eventually just came up in here and stayed on the outside of this dock, right where the boat is. And hopefully she won't be hitting the bottom too hard. And that was the end of the day. It was a heck of a day. Got through Hell's Gate. Got her tied up safe, more or less.
Now to the city. Good night.
Good night.
So let's go. Let's go check out the city and see what's what.
The main character of the story.
Oh yeah.
Main character is me.
My girlfriend, Helen.
And the hot dog she gonna eat. Of some rat meat.
How are ya? How are things? Are you in Estonia or America? I wonder. It's very beautiful, sweetheart. Little camera lady.
So we are Estonians in New York.
Ta-da!
I went to Macy's. We're gonna have the Thanksgiving or vice versa. And then we're gonna make lots of love.
Alright, thank you for sailing with us on Sailing Liberty. Shoutouts going, here we go. WS Westwood YouTube channel. Tips for healthy and happy living. Thanks for the footage, guys. And Liberty Railfan. Watch trains wherever, whenever, however. Thanks for the footage, guys. Love your shots. Glad we didn't come up with any of that scary footage on our own. We can count on guys like you. Thank you. Thanks for watching. If you like, comment. And please subscribe. We're a new channel and we need to get 1 subscription and then 2 subscriptions, and we look forward to seeing you on the next show. Sailing Liberty.